I buy the house next door to Brian as a commercial piece of property, and I wanna put in 3-story, 4,000 square foot offices, he's not gonna complain that he's got a house with little kids, now he's gonna see lights? And, no,
Right,
you know what I'm
but that's
saying?
where the height comes in.
And the setbacks and everything else.
The height, yeah, and really, still have to keep with the architecture of,
Right.
we have to determine what the architecture of the village is first, and then stay with that. But to put a 3-story building, because there's nothing in 3 stories,
Right.
except the one in the back, right, that's only 2 stories in the back, right?
it has a height.
It has a height of, yes, this building was 2. This was supposed to be 1 story. Yeah, so that's really where the setbacks and stuff come in, right? And percentage of lot coverage. But then parking also comes into that 3-story office building.
No, right, but
Whatever you
I'm just saying for the commercial business district, for this,
So how would
Big
you
area.
label it?
I could give you a better answer once I know what you really want in there. The name of the zone should be reflective of what you're gonna have.
Okay.
You know, office residential says to me, I can do any type of use where people are gonna live there. It's residential. But that's not the case.
No, but residential can go anywhere. Residential could go in the industrial
But we're not
park.
gonna allow multifamily, which is
Right.
residential.
Well, we could say one family residential.
I think just once you define the uses, you just wanna be careful of the name you pick.
Okay. So would it just be, or commercial, I was just gonna say commercial district, or you just?
Once I know the uses you want, I can give you some suggestions.
but I don't know how far along this is with the, if this was just a.
It's just a line
Like-
that we drew.
Why are we doing Brotherhood Plaza in there?
As the commercial, because it's commercial. It's commercial.
You're allowing residential.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, residential, everywhere. I mean, if somebody wanted to move it, I don't know what it would
Well,
want.
a single-family house would be allowed in the zone.
Right.
That sits at the top of the pyramid.
It still is now, isn't it?
Yeah,
Even now.
Yeah,
Like if somebody buys that lot next to the Knights of Columbus, they get build a house,
correct.
and it's in industrial.
Single family.
Yeah.
Not multiple.
So we're not changing any of that.
But I think the name of the district is something you can worry about once you get further along. That's not a priority. I think what you need to do is figure out what you want in this district, or what you don't want.
Well, yeah, well, wait a minute, back up, because yes, you are changing it, because in the NB zones, help me here, John. Where's my NB zone?
Take your finger out.
In your NB zones, a single family is not a permitted use. According to the zoning.
So this is what we have to attack first. So,
No, you need to attack what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? My personal
Is there a
opinion,
single family right now in the NBs? There's not one single family in that
oh, there
whole
probably is.
zone?
I mean, the zoning book's been changed probably 10 times with different zoning. You're not gonna kick somebody out because you changed the zone now.
You have a lot of pre-existing non-conformities.
But not every district right now gives you the right to put a residential house in there.
so do we want that? We want
I
that.
don't have that.
Somebody
But
put
I don't think
a, I don't think
Both
anyone
there.
would want to,
That's
but,
what I'm thinking.
no building structure lot of land should be used for more than the following uses, retail store, office, building, bank, savings and loan association, because they're popping up too. Savings
So are
and
ice cream
loans.
stands.
So, savings and loan associations, I can't imagine. Personal service store, studio, restaurant and tavern. Could use more. Theater, or motion picture theater. When the hell was this written?
85, 95. So, no, you don't need this. This is your last step, okay? What you need to do is take your NB zone, and not probably the entire thing, but your NB zone, which is your historic district. Okay, you might want to shrink that. But from here to here, you have the nice Victorian houses, we have this. Figure out what you want there. Are you going, besides residential, are you going to allow, okay, right now you're not supposed to have a bar or tavern within 200 feet of a residential area. Okay? Do you want to open up a brewery? Those are,
So, but by saying that, you're not allowed to, within 200 feet, we have housing above all these stores in the village. They're not supposed to be there. They really,
Well-
that's what you're saying.
according to the current code. But again, in 1859, you will, that's what it was. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think with the historic district, we just went with what you
Oh,
have.
and no, that's incorrect, because they have apartments upstairs, it's not in the residential zone,
No, it's within 200 feet of the
not the residential zone. Amada's is in the MB district.
Residential zone
Okay.
as opposed to residential use.
Right.
no, yes,
With your historic, like Joe, you mentioned the light poles.
yeah.
Your historic could be a small part of neighborhood B, or neighborhood business. And just, if you're in that overlay, you have to use whatever kind of light poles you want. It's the same design criteria as lighting for anywhere else in the village, but you have to use this kind of pole if you're in that overlay district. You want whatever kind of roof line. You want different kinds of trim, or whatever it is you want. It can just be supplemental regulations. You don't have to change the zone, you're just
Or
either
do-
adding
do
or
an
changing
overlay
some
district.
criteria for anybody in that district.
In South Blooming Grove, they have this map, okay? But like in your historic area now, it's gonna be purple lines, okay? And down here in your history, the purple lines are that you're in the overlay district, or in the view shed, or, yeah, and they're very specific on the color of the houses, new construction. What height for additions, the size of additions, they're very strict, and 90% of it has to go to the planning board. So if you did an overlay district where somebody would come in, it's easier for me to enforce that, oh no, that one is in the overlay district, you have to go to the planning board or village board or whoever you want to go. Your height can't exceed 25 feet in height, you can't, you know, I mean, I can get you a copy of that, of their code to give you an idea. You know what I'm saying?
Is this the only change you're looking at for the
Right
MD
now,
district?
I think right now, I think we want it, well, the residential, I mean, when we get to the development, development's what you get to there. It's gonna be the same.
If this is the only change you want in the MD district, then don't change
Well-
the MD zone. Leave it alone.
Oh, I thought you meant the areas, I'm sorry.
No, they want to go more. They want to go more, but I'm saying where they want to do the historic area in the current NB district is to do an overlay.
We weren't expanding the historic area?
Yeah, we were.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, we were expanding it just based on what's already here as far as the architecture. I
The
believe
entire
right-
village?
No,
No.
like right across the street here, Fairlawn, that's a house that really could be classified historic. And then we have some homes going into the village that were catalog homes on this side.
The whole historic isn't it mapped on that?
Yeah, and the other side, yeah.
All right, but then you have to also take into consideration, what happens if somebody buys one of these historic homes and go to do renovations, and it's so bad, cost-wise,
Well, it's not like, it's going to be different than the library, it's registered. It's a registered building. These
No.
aren't registered buildings.
I know, but if somebody buys Horizon Medical right next door, and they don't want to get a medical office, and they want to do renovations, and the old, they just put new sheet rock up and it looks beautiful, okay? They take the sheet rock down because they're gonna reconfigure the walls, half your walls are rotted. You know, I mean, you want to keep the look of it, but cost-wise, what happens if you come into one of these older buildings that's, was never maintained?
I think we want to keep the streetscape of the buildings the same.
Okay.
What they do inside
Yeah, it's more of the
is up to
exterior
them.
look of it, not the interior.
I'm just saying, if you get to a point of a building where the termites are eating down by your footings, that there's no way you're gonna save, cost-wise, you're not gonna save this building if they have to rebuild.
I don't think it's that they're trying to preserve that building. They
Right.
gotta knock it down and build a new one, they can,
It's gotta look the
but
way
it
you want it.
would have the
That's
same
what we want.
Right.
kind of appearance as.
What they do behind the facade, it's up
Yeah,
to
they can
them.
demo a house, we're
Right.
not preserving the houses.
Okay,
We just want it to look a certain way when they put the new one up.
okay.
But you've got this historic, covering half the districts in the village. And depending on what you
Yeah.
want out of it, again, if it's just light poles, that's easy. Any light pole in any of these districts,
Well, light poles,
Well, just
how
as
we
an
handle
easy
the
example.
sidewalk and things like that.
as an easy example, the light pole, no matter what zone you're in, if you're inside the red line, you have to use this light pole. And you can do that with sidewalks, curbing, whatever you want. If it's fairly generic, there's no need to modify all the zones.
Okay. How do we handle the lots that are bordering? What type of setbacks and percentage of coverage? You know, and a lot of these, questions came up, whether it was from somebody in person or whether it's on social media, that we're gonna put parking in front, we're not putting parking in front. Okay, we're not looking for the box stores. Amazon is building down Long Island, we did put in the bid for them, but they don't want this up here. Looking for the candle shop. Okay, a business like that.
Right now, you don't really have much in the way of your village laws to control anything.
Right.
As far as,
That's what we gotta do. You know.
they're subject to the state and federal regulations, which say they can't build in the floodway, period. You, as a floodplain administrator for your building inspector, are able to control whether they can fill in the floodplain or not. You don't have anything in your regulations covering that, other than giving your building inspector the right to grant or refuse permits. We have been, with the planning board, for the last several years, requiring that they do mitigation for any fill in a floodplain. You have nothing about separation from a stream or from a floodplain. As far as you're talking about parking behind the buildings, people along the stream, that might help. Federal regulations, if your parking lot floods, that's okay, as long as your building doesn't. So these houses where the back, or these lots where the back of the building meets the stream, they could have the parking there, let it flood, at least their buildings out of the area.
But we still have to come up with
You'd have to come up with something requiring that.
a design, right, which you brought up,
Right.
to allow the way it was somewhere.
Yes. You don't really have any really big projects that ever happen in the middle of the village.
Oh, we don't know.
There's nowhere in your OR zone for somebody to do a 30-acre site plan. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And that's